The city of Cape Coast in the Central Region in Ghana, West Africa, beckons a history that can never be forgotten.
Welcome home, brothers.
Welcome to the motherland, yeah?
This is the Cape Coast Castle. Holds a lot of history, mystery, and more.
We're at Cape Coast.
Cape Coast Castle.
This guy's birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Big time in the background.
Yeah.
Cape Coast, slave dungeons. Let's see what it is.
A story told of the African slaves shipped from their native land by the British colonials in the then trans-Saharan African trade.
They had 5 chambers that accommodated the men, this being the 5th and final chamber. Each chamber held 200 men. So inside this chamber held 200. So with all 5 chambers put together, we have 1,000 men occupying the male slave dungeon. And once you were brought down here as a slave, this is where you did everything. And by everything I mean defecated, urinated, fed here, slept here. So what we are actually standing on are all solidified waste of the slaves kept in here. And right above the 3rd chamber, they built a church, Society for the Propagation of the Gospel. Created this hole in front of the church. So as they were moving inside to worship, they could hear the screams and cries of the slaves. Everything going on down there, yet they worshiped above them. So once the ship came for the men, they would start the movement from this chamber, walk through this underground tunnel to the door of no return. But this tunnel was blocked in the year 1834 by Captain George McLean to signify an end to the slave trade. The trade was officially abolished in the year 1807, but even after that, they were still trading them illegally through this underground tunnel. So if this place was an entrance to an underground tunnel then, it means the shrine wasn't here then, right? So why do we have the shrine here now? Before the British came, the Africans here were worshipping a god or a deity called Nana Tabere. And this god is believed to be the leader of the 77 gods they have in this land. So in the year 1973, the Council of Chiefs over here all came together as one, brought pieces of the rocks they took then over here, mounted the shrine for their god to reclaim their god, because they believed this was where the god was located before everything began. Over here we have the graveyard for the Europeans. Towards the African men and women, the slaves were just put into sacks and thrown into the sea. Their people were given befitting burial. Over here we have a cell, and the name of this cell is the condemned cell. Condemned because it was a cell designed to kill, not to punish. So with this one, their living bodies were taken inside, but only dead ones were brought outside. In here we have the condemned cell. So once slaves were brought in here, all 3 doors were closed, leaving them here to die. And the sad thing about this place was, let's say 5 men, just an example, tried to fight for their freedom today and they were brought in here. Until the last man died, nobody else. So if one person should die first, the remaining 4 struggling to die added another struggle by smelling the dead body. All their fellow slaves too, they were also dead. So when the trade was ongoing, they had soldiers living inside the castle, protecting the castle from enemies or attacks. Now we are right on top of the 3rd chamber of the male slave dungeon. And I mentioned earlier they built a church on top of the chamber. So this was the church then, Society for the Propagation of the Gospel, SPG, now the Anglican Church or the Church of England. And this is the Pope down there. So as they were moving inside to worship, they could hear the screams and cries of the slaves. The church also served as a classroom then, the castle school, for the children they had with the African women after raping them. But now it is no longer a church but a children's library, open to all kids around those places to come read for free anytime they close from school. Are we all feeling the breeze in here? View of the sea. Big window size, a spacious room, all enjoyed by one person. So this place was the governor's living room, just one man. Whilst about 200 men were kept down there just beneath him. This is where most of the African women inside the dungeons were raped as well. So after the British built this castle, they built the fort up, the stationed soldiers in there. Soldiers were living inside the castle as well, so together they were communicating to protect the castle from enemies or attacks. During the daytime, they were using flags, normally red flag. Afternoon, mirror, evening, torchlight. So anytime soldiers stationed up there noticed enemies or danger approaching from afar, they would signal soldiers living inside the castle to protect the castle. Thank you all very much for visiting the Cape Coast Castle.
Start choking up in the first 5 minutes of this thing.
It is said that falling back to history makes you know more about your roots. The stories of our ancestors is not just a mere folktale, but emancipation of the African diaspora, fighting for a common front to uniting the world at large for peace and solidarity.